We were raised by a single mother. When I was about 4 years old, our house burned down. Insurance didn't cover paying off that mortgage. So fortunately, my mom was a nurse and she was able to work a ridiculous amount of hours, some 80 hours a week, and pay off that mortgage while still finding us another place to live. So I've been fortunate to have a lot of really good role models in my life. Obviously, my mom being at the top of that list. Okay. When all is good, why rock the boat when my child support's low? Yes. I want her as well. We know who is filed by.
She always very passionately said, I'm going to be an attorney. And she'd look at me with dead set eyes, and I 100% believed her. And not only just becoming an attorney, but actually being a good attorney that is going to make a difference. Erin's passion sets the bar for everyone else in our office. So we're at home on a Saturday night, it's 8 o'clock, Erin's phone starts buzzing. It says a lot of our staff who's feverishly working to prepare for the cases that we're going to handle that next week. They share Erin's passion, and it's contagious, and it's been spreading through our firm.
All right, thanks for staying so late. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I love doing family law. I feel like I really help people every day. I feel like we really make a difference for people, and I feel like families are benefited from the work we do. I started this firm with $2,500 in my bank account, and in the course of a year, I've helped over 200 families find a way to get through the turmoil that they're experiencing. I'm Erin Morse, and I'm here to help your family find your new normal. Okay. Welcome to the Law Office of Erin Morse and our podcast, Legal Morse of Action. I'm here with attorney Kristin Rahim.
Hello.
At least that's how I have to introduce you in court, right? Anyway, we've had a pretty good week this week.
We did. We had a great week.
It's very court heavy. I feel like I
court-heavy.
cannot get out of the courtroom. I could not get myself together today to even get started on this. We're running way behind schedule. But I'm doing my best here, okay?
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
She killed it. She won in court today. I do want to.
I won yesterday, didn't I?
Oh yeah, you won yesterday too.
And the day before?
And the day before.
Yeah, I think so. Whatever, you know. Anyway, today was actually a really good win, including attorney's fees. So I was pretty pleased about that, as was my client, because this case in particular has the opposing party is chronically dumb. And the standard for contempt is that you have to have willingly and knowingly made a decision to violate a court order.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dumb, you can't do anything knowingly. But we caught her up a little bit. Sometimes I think she's intentionally dumb, and then sometimes I think it's a psych issue.
Yeah, it's definitely both.
Yeah. Today we're talking about Kim and Kanye.
Yes, I'm very excited about
and their divorce. We are expecting that this is going to be a 2-part episode.
Absolutely.
Because this is crazy long. The details are insane. I was actually worried that we would be able to fit it in 2 episodes.
Yeah. We're definitely going to have to do 2 episodes. It actually kind of goes into what we're talking about, because this deals with a lot of psych issues.
Yeah.
So that's just something we haven't really discussed yet, I feel like, in a divorce.
No.
Celebrity divorce.
No, it hasn't happened. Obviously, it comes up a lot in our cases, our everyday cases, because that's just an unfortunate reality of people and what they're experiencing as they divorce, you know? So I am going to get right into it.
Okay.
Before we do, I messed with Kristin today and I said, I think you should do the hearing. And she was like, no.
I literally said no. Well, first off, let me preference. She tells me she's done this to me in the past as well. where she
I didn't
tells
mean
me,
it.
as we are walking out the door to go to the courthouse, she's like, "You should do it." I was like, "Ma'am, I would have been last night. I would have prepped. I prep obviously like way different extent than Erin does because she's obviously the professional, super pro, has done this and could do it without even prepping. I'm sure if she really wanted to.
Yeah.
Not that she does, but where I would need a little bit more. So she tried panicking me. I've done it before. Don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah, I had a car accident one time.
Yes. Attorney
And she
Morse
had
was
to
in a
jump.
car accident. She had to call me. She's like, "Hey, the hearing that's in 20 minutes. I need you to do it."
I was like, I'm really sorry. I just got in a car accident and
Yeah.
I can't make it.
Yeah.
I was okay. No one was hurt. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
Everybody watching.
It worked out. It was a good. She just threw me to the walls at that point,
Fine.
but it was good.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kim and Kanye. This is crazy, and their whole divorce is crazy.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me at the time why she married him.
Honestly,
I couldn't see it.
I couldn't see it either, just because she kind of just came off from Chris Humphries, which we'll go into. Remember, she was married a few times before, right?
Yeah.
So when he's like that, like football, I think she was into like athletes.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like this like rapper, singer, very different vibe.
Right.
So
right.
it threw me off as well. Also, I love Keeping Up with Kardashians. I don't watch it now. I used to really watch it.
I never really watched it, to be honest. Yeah.
It used to be really funny.
No, I never really watched it.
I watch a lot of way too much, like I like to admit. I like reality TV.
Yeah.
So I especially watch like Housewives. You'll see me mention it a lot in the podcast. I think it's just because it helps you turn your brain off, and I just rather.
Right.
So I love Kardashians. They're funny.
Yeah. I mean, they're okay. But I think when they were big, I was in school and I had a child, so it wasn't in the cards for me to consume any social media. It was like a big patch of my life where I just didn't do anything other than study, go to school, and take care of my son. It's fine, but I just was like, I have no idea what happened at that time. So Kim and Kanye. Kimberly Noel Kardashian was born on October 21st, 1980, in Los Angeles, California, to Robert Kardashian, an attorney and businessman, and Kris Jenner, formerly born Kris Houghton. Houghton? I'm not sure how to say her last name. Yeah. A media personality and businesswoman. That girl's a businesswoman.
She is. Oh my gosh.
I'm
anyone's
just saying.
Going to do it. It's Kris Jenner.
She is the second of 4 children born to Robert and Kris. Her parents divorced in 1991 when Kim was 11, and she primarily lived with her mother in Calabasas, California, the rest of her childhood. Kim spent several years as a stylist for celebrities. I think that's what she was doing when she first became famous with Paris.
Yeah.
Most notably singer Brandy and heiress Paris Hilton, until a recording from 2003 of her having sex with her then boyfriend, Ray J, was leaked in 2007, which catapulted her into stardom.
Yeah. It's like one of the main things that happens on like the first ever episode of Keeping Up with Kardashians.
Like whoever would have thought that would make them famous?
Especially to the level that they're at right now.
Right.
And like how they're so like respected and classy businesswomen to an extent.
Yeah.
And definitely.
You can't say they're not good at business.
Oh my God. Every single one of them has their own thriving businesses, and they're all different in each way.
Exactly. And they have the same amount of hours in a day as we have.
Yeah. It goes from like clothing, makeup, vitamins, workout videos. Like
I bet they do a bunch of things we don't even know about.
Oh, I'm sure.
They probably have tons of investments. It's just my guess.
And she goes, and not to forget that she is trying to be a lawyer.
Yeah, it's like the 10-year law school endeavor, though.
Yeah, because she took the baby bar. California does
Didn't she fail it a couple times?
She did. And she could only take it, I think, 4 times. Don't quote me on the amount. And she finally passed it the last time. But she still has to, I believe, take the bar.
Yeah. I think if you take the baby bar and you do well, you can omit the requirement to go to law school.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think. I don't know. I'm not in California. Sounds crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
In 2007, the first season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians aired on E! Network. From there, Kris managed to build an empire that includes clothing, lingerie, skincare, makeup, film and TV, mobile video games, and social media branding, amongst so much others.
So much more. So Kanye Omari West was born June 8th, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia, to Ray West, who was a photojournalist and counselor, and Donna West, a professor of English, who would later, who would later serve as Kanye's manager. Oh, okay, so both of their moms were their managers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have a personal belief that if you want like extreme success like that, you really have to have it be like a family
Within the
affair.
family.
I just think that a lot of times that's the recipe.
Yeah. So West is an only child and spent his childhood with his mom in Chicago, Illinois, prior to moving with her to Nanjing, China, where she accepted a professorship, for the rest of his grade schooling. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
That
He
is a
grew up
very
in
fun
China.
fact. He would inevitably return to Chicago to attend Chicago's American Academy of Art and Chicago State University before dropping out to pursue music. West would begin his music career as a producer and reach such acclaim while trying to make it as a rapper. It wasn't until 2000 that a label he had been producing under decided to extend his contract to cover recording. West's debut album, The College Dropout, is now considered to be one of the best rap albums of all time.
I'll never forget it and how he rapped out of the side of his mouth.
Really?
Yeah. If you ever listen to it, he sounds very different than he sounds now. It's songs but that you'd be like, I would not have.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I've ever like pulled up this album and like listened to it.
Yeah, where I grew up, this is what. Yeah.
I kind of want to pull it up now.
Yeah, you should.
Do that
You should. And he like raps out of the side of his mouth, and it sounds so different than the way he raps now.
Yeah. Okay. So this is also known for his controversial and confrontational behaviors. That's so true. From deviating during a live charity broadcast to tell the audience in a wake of Hurricane Katrina's devastation that then President George W. Bush doesn't care about Black people, to storming the stage during Taylor Swift's 2008 Video Music Award win in order to proclaim Beyonce as the rightful winner, to his recent and current political alignment with the Nazi Party and staunch anti-Semitism. You know how I am?
Anti-Semitism.
Semitism. I have a thing with S's.
So they have a bunch of kids, as you know.
Oh gosh, yeah, so
many. Northwest, a baby girl who was born June 15th, 2013. Saint West, a baby boy born December 5 in 2015. Chicago West, born January 15 of 2018. And Psalm West, a male born May 9th, 2019, who was 5 years old at the time of this recording, going to be 6, of course. All of the children were born at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Due to difficulties experienced during her first 2 pregnancies, Chicago and Psalm were born via surrogate.
Yeah, they actually do go really into her struggles with pregnancy.
Really?
I think she had preeclampsia. Am I saying that right?
Preeclampsia. Yeah.
Really bad, and so they just were like,
it's like really dangerous.
Yeah.
Although common, it is dangerous.
Yeah, so they basically told her it's not safe for her anymore.
Right. It's probably because she doesn't avoid stress while she's pregnant.
Probably.
I just imagine that her career causes a lot of stress. It's stressful.
For sure. And I mean, she's just at least fortunate that she can, afford kind of to go that route too.
Yeah, that she had no real barriers to doing anything, right?
Yeah. Have you ever done a case where someone was born via surrogate?
Yeah, I did a case where the children were born, the children were embryos, and both parents were neither the egg donor nor the sperm donor, but the mom had the baby. I also have a case right now where they are fighting over what's going to happen with the eggs. The husband is willing to continue to pay to have the embryos stay until basically he dies. Okay. He doesn't want to destroy them.
Okay.
Which I hate.
Yeah.
Our client wanted to donate them, maybe to science or something, and he doesn't want to do that. He wants to pay for it forever.
That's not cheap either.
What is wrong with you? Yeah. He wants to argue with her about alimony,
it's just he wants to argue.
But he also wants to pay to keep him.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
She's a jerk.
Yeah.
Kardashian and West first met around 2002 or 2003 when West was working on a song with Kardashian's then employer, Brandy. They crossed paths a number of times during West and Brandy's collaboration. Their friendship took root in 2010 while Kardashian was with model Gabrielle Aubrey, and shortly after, West split with model Amber Rose. Kardashian ended up marrying basketball player Kris Humphries at a $10 million ceremony in 2011.
Please tell me you saw this episode of, well, at least the
I think so.
This
Yeah.
is like so famous.
Yeah. Although the marriage only lasted 72 days before it had been properly dissolved. However, the rumor mill caught wind that Kardashian and West may be an item, and the rumors proved to be true. We would do an episode on Kardashian and Humphries. We should.
We totally should, because I really want to deep
But
dive
it would
into
be
like
short.
have you ever done a, because I know here in Florida, like how would you do that in a sense?
I've had a couple of divorces that have outlasted the length of the marriage. We had one, it finally settled, but we had gone to 6 mediations. It was like this knockdown, drag out mess, and they were married for 8 months. The divorce lasted 4 years.
Wow.
We just couldn't get it right. And my client wasn't willing to let me be as aggressive as I wished I could have, to just like, kick the hornet's nest and go right to a trial, which is what I would have wanted to do, but she wasn't willing to do it. She's like, I think it'll settle. He keeps telling me he'll settle.
Famous last words. It's gonna settle.
It's gonna settle. I'm like, just let me get to trial. If they're gonna settle, let them do it on the courthouse steps. Like, just push it. Anyway, not everybody's willing to let me do that. So, while still pursuing the finalization of her divorce from Kris Humphries, Kim and Kanye sold their separate homes around the same time in early 2012, sparking speculation that they would be moving in together. And Kim bought Kanye a Lamborghini Aventador for his birthday in June of 2012. They starred in commercials together as a couple and were snapped by paparazzi frequently. At one of Kanye's concerts in December 2012, he shouted out to Kim as his baby mama. A pregnancy announcement followed and posted on Kim's website, confirming that the couple was welcoming their first child. At this point, Kim had only been with Kanye for about 7 months and was still going through a very messy divorce from Kris Humphries, which left her unsure as to whether or not she should go through with the pregnancy. Kanye admitted in 2020 that at the time he was having unprotected sex with multiple women, and he was concerned that Kim was calling to inform him that he had given her an STD. The best part about this is going to be the quotes that we go through.
Yes. Oh my
God. Kanye West quotes. We're just going to have a quote off.
We are going to do that. So Kim's divorce from Kris Humphries was finalized just days before the birth of her and Kanye's first child, North, in June of 2013, which North is her own character within itself.
Also, by the way, in Florida, you couldn't get that.
Oh, yes, you can.
Can't get pregnant while you're getting divorced.
Yeah.
It will be presumptively the father, so California may handle this a little bit differently.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
So around the same time, the first accusation of Kanye cheating on Kim came out, though the claims made by the Canadian model who levied the accusation was never verified. In October of 2013, a few short months later, and a year and a half into their marriage, West proposed to Kardashian at San Francisco's 8th Park, home of the MLB team, the San Francisco Giants. This was captured and broadcast to the Kardashian episode.
Oh, how nice.
I feel like
that
everything they did is always this big spectacle, and it always was kind of like, hey, are you doing this just for the show, or is this really something you wanted to do just because you could afford it? You know
I think it was always, in my opinion, if I am allowed to have one, it's always both, right? Yeah. So like, we're thinking about getting married, and there's mom like, you're doing great, sweetie. Let me get it on film. Yeah. My favorite reality TV was Teen Mom 2. I like that little saga. And when one of the girls was getting engaged on that show, Chelsea Hoops.
Yes.
And when she was getting engaged, they were kind of getting a little camera shy with their very personal life. Mm-hmm. I think he is much more private and personal than she is. He proposed, but he didn't tell producers he was going to do it, and he like took her in the woods and they proposed. They took pictures.
Yeah.
And they allowed them to show the pictures.
Oof, the producers were like so mad.
They were very mad at it. And I don't know if it's a part of their contract that things like that have to be, but they proposed, and they did an episode on it and showed the pictures, but they didn't allow them to film.
Part of reality TV is like, you have to show your life. That's what you're kind of agreeing to do, I think.
Right.
So when people come on reality TV and they're like, oh, I want to show this, but not this. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know if it really works that way. But so the wedding festivities began in Paris, France, before transferring to Florence, Italy for the ceremony on May 24th, 2014. Oh, it's coming up, the anniversary of that.
I know, huh?
The city was chosen based off the alleged location of the conception. Basically the making of their first child, right? That's insane. Sorry, that gave me a good chuckle. I don't know why.
Kanye West is like, this is where I fucked your mom.
Yeah, I don't know why that's so funny. The ceremony was intimate and unrecorded for unlike Kardashian's previous nuptials. Kanye gave a 20-minute speech at the reception in which he called his new wife art and the ideal celebrity and said that his new family, the Kardashians, were an industry. I mean,
they are.
They are. The couple welcomed their second child, a boy named Saint, in December of 2015 after experiencing complications during her first pregnancy.
So, as this is going on, issues arise. They arise pretty early in their relationship. This is very public. This is not shocking to anybody. As early as 2016, the tensions began to rise in the marriage as West showed an escalating pattern of erratic behavior on Twitter. However, even as the drama festered in the form of an online war with Taylor Swift regarding lyrics that were included in a song on West's 8th album, Kim stuck by Kanye's side and waged the war with him. After Kardashian was robbed in her Paris hotel room in October of 2016, do you remember this?
Yes, I have a fun fact about actually.
West began arriving to his concerts on the Life of Pablo tour late, cutting them short, and going on rants during the shows. This culminated the cancellation of the tour entirely on December 1, 2016.
So there's a big mystery on who did this. This is actually really scary, this whole event that happened to her.
Yeah.
And so apparently they found someone as suspect and he's on trial right now and he magically just died.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And so everyone's like, ooh, did he? You know how people speculate.
Right.
Conspiracy theories. They don't know what happened, but he just magically died like days or weeks before the trial was supposed to start.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It seems like whenever I hear about Paris, if it's not like overly glamorized, it's like high crime. It's dirty.
Have you ever been to Paris?
No.
I've been once and
I've never been to Europe.
That's about to change.
It's about to change.
I went to Paris once. I believe it's very overrated. This is my opinion, by the way. This is my opinion.
This whole thing is our opinion.
Yes. So I'm not disrespecting no one.
It's all facts we got from someone else.
Yes. I personally found it to be like over glamorized because over here like Paris and all that stuff. And everyone was very mean, and I didn't feel very safe. So everything you're saying is exactly how I felt.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe people
they just had that bed bugs thing, the bed bugs infestation. Yeah. During the when everyone was over there, I think for the Olympics.
Oof. I heard the Olympics was a wreck.
Yeah, I heard so too. Yeah.
And the water was really dirty.
Really dirty. We don't even want to go in it.
So bad.
That's bad. Yeah. So. Oh, on the same day, in November 21st, 2016, news broke that West was hospitalized following an alleged psychiatric emergency. While his physical trainer's facility, he allegedly assaulted a staff member while suffering from temporary psychosis due to sleep deprivation and dehydration.
That's a lie. That's drugs.
I was just about to say, that sounds like drugs to me. It was reported that he suffered a nervous breakdown due to the anniversary of his mother's passing, which was November 10th of 2007, and he admitted to TMZ in 2018 that he was abusing opioid prescription pills around this time. He was scheduled to be released on November 28th, 2016, but was deemed not stable enough as he continued to experience extreme paranoia. Upon his release, Kanye then receiving outpatient care while residing separately from Kim and their children. Kanye returned to the public eye in December of 2016, and the couple returned to their normal routine of eye-catching appearances and sightings snipped by paparazzi. Due to the traumas they both experienced in the fall of that year, Kim and Kanye began attending individual therapy to manage their stress and other factors and squash any divorce rumors they had been buzzing.
What I want to understand is after knowing that Kanye had an absolute break like this and could not really even live with her, why would she continue to have children with him so intentionally? Like maybe I could understand if she was like, oops, we were intimate and I had another baby, but they used a surrogate. So that was a lot of intent to have another baby. Why would she continue to have children when, again, these are cracks, right? These are like maybe
pretty big cracks.
Yeah. Also, by the way, with a person who has psychotic breaks like this, again, I don't mean to be unkind about it, you're giving him children. So you are painting the backdrop of their childhood trauma, right? You're building it.
Yeah.
For what? You wanted more children, didn't want 2 baby daddies, you were feeling some kind of way about that?
She was going through her own thing. I mean, me being in another country and someone robbing me and threatening to kill me and stealing all my stuff, it's pretty traumatic myself.
She, from what I understand and what little I understood in the media, she was really traumatized by that.
I mean, it sounds very scary to me.
Yeah, I do feel like she had to have a lot of understanding.
So, yeah. So at this point, they had 2 of the children and they still have 2 more coming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned.
However, the turn of the year into 2017 brought with it several sources who claim the pair were prioritizing their children. I'm sorry, patronizing. That was me. Patronizing me. Prioritizing their children, not getting along, and lacking the passion they once had. Public gestures and displays of affection were once a hallmark of their relationship, and sources claimed the absence of such things affirmed that things were not going great in Kim and Kanye's relationship. Even still, the same sources claim the turbulence was a consequence of the hurdles they encountered in the fall of 2016, and the couple had no intention of splitting up. I think that's fair.
I think it's fair too.
By February of 2017, things seemed to be back to normal. Sources claimed Kim and Kanye were taking the time to date and have fun together again, and that the troubles they had for the few months prior had seemed to have mostly passed. Kanye fell back from the public eye, and by March, there was talk of the couple having a 3rd child through Kim's previous pregnancy complications made this difficult. Sure enough, by June 2017, it was reported that the couple had hired a surrogate. Their 3rd child, a second daughter named Chicago, was born January 15th, 2018.
Okay, so it would make sense they kind of were getting their shit together.
Maybe, yeah. Gotta give them a chance, I guess. Yeah.
So Kanye's habit of erratic and compulsive tweeting led to playful exchange between Kim and Kanye. In the long-winded message related to creative vision, Kanye said, "Sometimes you have to get rid of everything." Kim responded by quoting the tweet and stating, "Wait, everything?" ? Exclamation point, with an emoji of a woman raising her hand as if to say, "Including me?" ? The thread continued to devolve, as Kim exchanged words with friends and model Chrissy Teigen. When Teigen offered Kardashian an air mattress at her home, Kardashian responded, might need some more for the kids. Just not clear on what everything really means. I need clarity. Thanks for being such a good friend. Maybe John can call and inquire, but maybe he means friends too? ? This is confusing. Kim made it clear in her own words, we're in jest, and it was with another tweet posted on the same day. For anyone who has absolutely no humor in their soul, please know my tweets are a joke, and I will die laughing if I see blogs and media really thinking I'm being serious, so don't even try it.
I think the part of it that doesn't seem like a joke is just not clear what everything really means.
Yeah.
That's just not funny.
No.
Like, if you're going to make a joke, try being funny.
Yeah, I know.
That didn't make that.
Yeah, no.
Not clear, because that's not funny. Like, maybe she could have made it funnier.
Yeah.
Maybe pass it by a publicist. They're pretty much always around you.
I feel like if I was this big of a celebrity, anything I would post probably would go by a publicist.
I'm pretty sure I would not even be logged into my own Twitter.
Yeah, I feel like someone else would be running it.
Yeah, I feel like on occasion maybe I'd be like, I want to tweet this.
Yeah.
But I'd make sure that I have permission.
Yeah.
Despite this, a source did report that this exchange wasn't based in light fun. Rather, it was Kim's attempt at regaining control. Nevertheless, the couple welcomed their 4th and final child, a boy via surrogate, on May 9th, 2019, and West continued to support his wife and family as Kardashian began her journey of becoming a lawyer in the state of California. All right.
So I feel like, okay, so if we had a consult, right, and they kind of came in and was like, hey, this is kind of the situation and then the issues like kind of going on, what would you advise them, right?
If knowing that so I think one of the things that would often happen is they would be like, well, yeah, the psych breakdown, and they would try immediately to cite this psychological problem. And one of the things I would say is, but then you had children with him, right? So I had a case once where the husband had this like a complete trial through a Montana DCF case, right? And it was that he abused her autistic child from a prior relationship, hitting him with a belt, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And he was found to have abused the child, but they didn't take the child. So it's a very weird finding. And we ended up with all the paperwork because the other attorney on the other side tried to use it as a reason for why the child that they had together should be taken away from him. However, the child that they had together was born 3 years after this. So they stayed married. She stayed by his side, went through the trial with him. They hired an attorney together. 3 years later, through infertility treatments, extreme infertility treatments that they spent money that they do not have. These were not very high income, not incredibly high income people. Infertility treatments had another child. I was like, how can you say he's an abusive person if you went through infertility after this knowledge?
Yeah.
So, fortunately, I represented the dad, and he said, listen, I spanked the child. I did. And I left a mark on his bum. He's like, I was like, well, corporal punishment is legal in Florida.
Yeah.
And I guess the argument was that he was autistic, so he shouldn't have been spanked. I don't think you should leave a mark. And he's like, I didn't intend to leave a mark.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, he didn't even say it was like, it got so mad. He's like, I didn't even realize that it was that hard. I didn't spank him after that. And this was a big deal. And it was actually because we brought him to the doctors because I was worried.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was a bruise on his bum. Do I think maybe he did the wrong thing? Yeah. Do I think he's a child abuser? No. So
yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I hear this a lot where it's like they want to go after something, like you said, that happened prior to them even being together or prior to them even having the children. And then they want to use it against them. It's like, well, you kind of knew these facts. So I always ask them, like, oh, did you know about this?
Right.
And the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Like, how do you expect to bring this up?
Or it to seem like you're making this argument in good faith.
Yes.
Right.
That's a good way to put it.
Or that it's essentially for the truth, for the lack of safety of the children. When you chose, after knowing this, to have children with them, you must have thought it was okay.
I see this with criminal convictions as well.
Yeah. And then the analysis comes, if you thought that this person was an unsafe individual to be around your children, and you decided to have a child with them knowing this and let this person babysit while you were there, you are now culpable.
Mm-hmm.
That could give you rise, right? So we may be opening them up to some kind of liability in theory, right? A failure to protect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ma'am, that means you committed a crime. If this is true, this must also be true.
Yeah.
Right? So it really stands on a large amount of logic.
I agree. Well, I feel like in this situation, sometimes like I've had people like that come to us for consults or things like that, where they're like, oh, he has a psych issue and he has this breakdown. But at the same time, like in this situation, Kim was kind of going through her own stuff as well. We don't know if she was taking medications like kind of he was or whatever was going on.
They were doing it together. A lot of times they're doing it together.
Water rises to the same level.
That's right.
Attorney Morse says all the time.
That's right.
So I feel like sometimes I tell them like, hey, if you want to come in swinging, they're going to come right back swinging, right? If you want to file a motion for, psych eval, motion for drug and alcohol eval, like all these crazy things, like right up front and straight, it's kind of like they're just going to come right back at you because you did the same thing with them.
Or the other thing is that it needs to be based on a recent event. It can't be stale. I had a case where one of the parties was claiming, oh, they had a DUI. I'm like, when was the DUI? And he said this in court a year and a half ago. And we're like, well, how do you know she was like impaired, whatever? He's like, well, I saw her. She was drunk, blah, blah. And she crashed into the house and damaged the garage, and I fixed it. I'm like, so you covered it up?
Mm-hmm. I
was like, so you covered up the crime.
Yeah. If
there was a crime, and you knew your child was in the car and you didn't do anything.
Yeah, you took no immediate. At least that's what I would say.
A judge did say it.
Yeah,
why now?
Why now?
I need something not so stale.
That kind of happened I had a judge grant my motion to dismiss because the dad now was trying to claim all these alcohol problems, but he, like from months and months ago, but he moved to a different state and left the child here. The judge
a year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half.
And I remember this, and he had said in his pleadings, like, she has an alcohol problem, and his knowledge was based on when he was with her.
Yeah, and the judge basically was like, why now? Why do you care all of a sudden now? And you've left the child here?
And she put an exclamation point in there.
Exclamation point.
Why now? Exclamation point, not a question mark, exclamation point. And I think she did it on purpose.
Literally, and then put motion to dismiss granted. We love it.
Yeah. So I do think that in this scenario, I would need more recent
I feel like
information.
this is something that maybe we could do a deposition on, right? Maybe get a little more info.
I mean, maybe we got to look into it. Maybe you can get more like a parenting plan evaluation, which has a
Yes.
psychological component. That's something I
That's
think
good.
that we could really do.
Guardian ad litem, if they were really thinking these issues were still happening, right? You know, maybe
Yeah.
it's going to happen in front of the kids.
Yeah.
All those things, that would be great.
Yeah.
That's more, in my opinion, obviously, and I've learned this from you. I feel like that's just the way you kind of start this, rather than just like going in after all these like evaluations, like these crazy claims that happened so long ago. Bring that in that guardian ad litem, right?
Right.
So
yeah, and I think that that's kind of a reality that people have to probably focus on a little bit more, you know. Okay, are we gonna save the next part of it?
we might be able to just kind of go through it.
You want to try to go? See
We
how
can
far we
try.
go? All right.
You guys
So-
want an extra long episode?
I think we might do an extra long
Let's
episode.
do
It
it.
might work this way.
I'm in for it.
All right. Beginning of the end. Their relationship took a sharp turn in July of 2020. West took to Twitter to declare himself a candidate for the 2020 presidential election, which Kardashian seemed to support, or at least wanted the general public to believe she did. Quote tweeting Kanye's announcement with the American flag emoji. At his first campaign rally on July 20th of 2020, Kanye went on a rant about a number of things, including slavery, religion, international trade, and licensing deals, most notably on the subject of abortion. Kanye alleged that he and Kim considered an abortion during their first pregnancy with daughter North. When she called him crying, he originally believed it was because he had given her AIDS. Due to him living the rapper lifestyle at the time. He was relieved when she instead said she was pregnant, but disappointed as he was not ready to be a father. It wasn't until he claims he received a direct message from God who told him his unborn child would be a part of his vision, and he decided against it. Quote, some of the Kanye quotes, she said she was pregnant for 1 month and 2 months and 3 months, and we talked about her not having this child. She had the pills in her hand. And God said, if you fuck with my vision, I'm going to fuck with yours. And I called my wife and said, we're going to have this baby. And I said, we're going to have this child. So even if my wife were to divorce me after this speech, she brought North into the world even when I didn't want to. She stood up and she protected that child. Broken down and sobbing on the stage, he screamed, I almost killed my child. I almost killed my daughter. Over the next 2 days, between July 20th and 21st, 2020, Kanye went on a Twitter rant about his wife, her family, and their marriage and children. You know, what's sad about this discussion is maybe this happens often, and I do have clients who come into the office and say this, well, he wanted an abortion. Can't we tell the judge that?
Oh, yeah.
No, because people make different decisions, right?
Yeah.
Also, the abortion didn't happen. So it doesn't matter. You could want something, right? It's okay. So on his Twitter rant between July 20th and 21st, some of the quotes from that. Kris, don't play with me. You and Kanye, alluding to Kris Jenner's boyfriend, Corey Gamble, are not allowed around my children. Y'all tried to lock me up. 7:03 p.m., 7/20/2020. Everybody knows the movie Get Out is about me. 7:04 on 7/20/2020.
So Get Out. I've never really seen it, but I know what it's about, right? So I'm going to explain a little bit. It basically, Get Out is a psychological thriller that was released in 2017, which revolves around a young Black man, Kris, who goes with his white girlfriend to meet her family. And meeting her family and the entire relationship is revealed to be an elaborate trap to kidnap Kris and swap his brain with an older disabled white man's through an advanced, fictional, obviously, medical procedure, which the girlfriend's family had been practicing for some time, always on Black individuals. So that's what that's about. So he's saying that is what they're doing to him. Okay. Next quote is, I put my life on the line for my children. That North's mother, Kim, would never sell her sex tape. That's at 7:04 p.m. at 7:20.
Why did he bring this up? This was very dead.
Very dead. Next quote, I put my life on my God. That North's mom would never photograph her during doing Playboy, and that's on God. I'm at the ranch, ... Come and get me. That was okay. That was at 7:06 on the same day. Actually, no. 7:06, 2:20, 24. I'm assuming he likes to do them at night.
Yeah, probably when he starts using whatever his jug of preference.
So
if I had to guess.
Yeah, sounds about right. Both tweets seem to allude to Kris Jenner's actions as Kim's manager. It is widely believed, though never confirmed, that the leaking of Kim's sex tape was deliberate in an attempt to further her career on the part of Kris Jenner. Kristin did a nude photo shoot with Playboy in 2007, which Kris Jenner encouraged. The meme of Kris Jenner with her camera saying, "You're doing amazing, sweetie," originated from the Playboy shoot.
I love that meme, and I think it's hilarious.
Me too. I think it's so funny.
I hope it never does.
I quote it all the time. Doing great, sweetie.
Okay, now we are going to go through and we are going to do a quote off of some of Kanye's best quotes. Kim tried to bring a doctor to lock me up with a doctor. 7:10 p.m., 7/20, 2020.
If I get locked up like Nelson Mandela, y'all will know why. 7:11 p.m. on July 20th, 2020.
Kristin Kim, call me now. 7:13 p.m., 7/20, 2020.
They called him. At 7:14 p.m., he posted a screenshot of a text allegedly sent to Kris Jenner where he said, "The Yee, you ready to talk now, or are you still avoiding my calls?"
That sounds like he's harassing them and posting about it. West's children will never do Playboy, along with a picture of his 4 children. 7:30 p.m., 7/20, 2020.
At 7:30 p.m., he posted a screenshot of the definition of righteous
indignation.
Sorry, I'm like literally laughing at this whole thing. Which is typically a reactive emotion of anger over mistreatment, insult, and malice of another, akin to what is called a sense of injustice.
I love my wife. My family must live next to me. It's not up to E or NBC anymore. 7:37, 7/20, 2020.
Kim was trying to fly to Wyoming with a doctor to lock me up like on the movie Get Out because I cried about saving my daughter's life yesterday. 7:40 p.m. on 7/20/20.
They tried to fly in with 2 doctors to 5150 me. I've been trying to get divorced since Kim met with Meek at the Waldorf for prison reform. I got 200 more to go. This my lady tweet of the night. Kris Jong-un, 7/21/20.
Meek is my man and was respectful. That's my dog. Kim was out of line. I'm worth $5 billion and more than that through Christ. But y'all ain't listening to MJ, and now y'all believe them. 7/21/20.
Kris and Kim put out a statement without my approval. That's not what a wife should do. White supremacy. 7/21/20. I want to note, Kim's technically not white.
I know she isn't.
She's Armenian.
I was gonna say she's Armenian.
I understand her mom is white, but she's really not just white. So this is unkind.
The statement was referring to is the statement Kim made on her Instagram on July 20th, 2020. At the time he posted that tweet, Kim had not released the statement yet.
Kim took to Instagram the morning of July 22, 2020 to put out a statement regarding Kanye's tweets, most of which have been deleted.
So the quote said, "As many of you know, Kanye has a bipolar disorder. Anyone who has this or has a loved one in their life who knows how incredibly complicated and painful it is to understand. I've never spoken publicly about how this has affected us at home because I'm very protective of the children and Kanye's right to privacy when it comes to his health. But today I feel like I should comment on it because of the stigma and the misconceptions about mental health. Those that understand mental illness or even compulsive behavior know that the family is powerless unless the member is a minor. People who are unaware so far removed from this experience can be judgmental and not understand that individuals themselves have to engage in the process of getting help, no matter how hard family and friends try."
Yeah, and I mean, I think that shows that they tried to send a doctor.
Absolutely. It makes total sense.
Yeah, so they just confirmed everything he said, even though what he's saying is a little off kilter, or maybe isn't exactly how we all would say it or put it out there. It kind of confirmed that they tried, right? And they said, well, if he won't voluntarily go, then he can't. And again, maybe, and I could interpret it this way, I think they knew they can't force him, but perhaps they were hoping if a doctor showed up basically on his doorstep and said, hey, do you want help? Do you want us to help you? Do you want to try to work through this? He would go voluntarily. And
You think it was like an intervention?
Yeah. Instead, he tweeted.
He tweeted,
"Put the phone down.
Get out.
Get out." I understand Kanye is subject to criticism because he's a public figure and his actions sometimes cause strong opinions and emotions. I really believe that he's a brilliant and complicated person who, on top of being an artist and a Black man, has experienced the painful loss of his mother. I think him and his mom were really close. Yeah, I think and he has to deal with pressure and isolation that's heightened by his bipolar disorder. I firmly believe that fame is not freeing, it's restricting.
For sure.
I think that it is isolating, and I think it really makes these situations worse for people. I don't think it's better. I don't think it's best. And I don't think it's ideal for a lot of people, you know? Those who are close with Kanye know his heart and understand his words sometimes do not align with his intentions. I don't know a ton about bipolar. I do have a family member who has it.
Same.
And we all know someone, I think. And by and large, the person who I've experienced with is a good person, tries really hard and is very smart. And I know this doesn't matter, but she's like beautiful and she's interesting and she has so much wonderful things going for her that sometimes it just, it gets complicated, right? But I would trust her to babysit. Like, you know, I don't know if that makes sense. Living with bipolar disorder does not diminish or invalidate his dreams and creative ideas. No matter how big or unobtainable they may feel to some, that is part of his genius that we've all have witnessed, and his dreams have come true. We as society talk about giving grace and the issue of mental health as a whole. However, we should give it to the individuals who are living with it in the times when they need it most. I kindly ask that the media and public give us the compassion and empathy that is needed so that we can get through this. Thank you for those who have expressed concern for Kanye's well-being and your understanding. So that was all part of her quote. Yeah.
Kristin wrote that.
Yeah. That's okay. You know, and again, I do agree with this.
I do too.
By and large. It's real. It's difficult, I think, for a lot of people. And yeah, it is hard. And I think it's going to be hard on their kids because you can't completely shield them from it. And it isn't cause to remove a child, and as far as I'm concerned.
They're going to see all this.
Absolutely. This played out in public.
Yep.
By January 2021, sources began to report that Kardashian was preparing to file for divorce. And she did on January 19th, 2021. The divorce. Represented by famed Hollywood divorce attorney Laura Wasser, who has come up on the podcast before in her representation of Ariana Grande, who also represented her in her divorce from Kris Humphries, Kim filed for divorce from Kanye on February 19, 2021. Reports at the time alleged that the pair were amicable in an agreement over joint legal and physical custody, weren't contesting the prenup, and were nearing a settlement. This, however, proved not to be the case, as their divorce proceeding lasts for about 21 months. Over the course of these 21 months, West was represented by several different attorneys. That's a red flag.
I was just about to ask you, do you think that's a red flag?
Yeah, typically once you get to the third or fourth attorney, there's some flags, right? So the first was Bernard Claire and Robert Cohen, New York-based attorneys, and appeared on the case around September 28th, 2022, and withdrew on October 24th, 2022, following Kanye's anti-Semitic rants on Twitter. Robert Cohen is very likely Jewish. Yeah. I don't know about Bernard Claire. Whatever, but yeah. I have heard of Robert Cohen, and I know he's Jewish.
Cohen is Jewish, and he's the head of Bravo.
Yeah. So that's a problem. That was a very quick turnaround. Why would he do that?
I don't know.
Come on, Kanye, let it go with the anti-Semitic.
He's been doing that. He's been posting some merchandise, like randomly he would first post merchandise with the Nazi symbol on it, and it just like,
it's sick, right?
It is sick.
Yeah. Nicholas Salick, a California-based attorney, appeared on the case on September 28th, 2022. So same day that Bernard Claire and Robert Cohen withdrew. Samantha Spector, an Illinois-based attorney, filed to withdraw around August 2022 due to attorney-client relationship being irretrievably broken. Unconfirmed reports indicate that Attorney Spector and West and not that Attorney Spector fired West and not the other way around.
Chris Melcher represented Kanye before Samantha Spector, and he began his representation sometime before January 2022. Unconfirmed reports indicated that upon his leave from the case, the relationship between Attorney Melcher and West had become extremely difficult with little communication, that West would often say he wanted to settle things, only to abruptly turn around and switch to wanting to fight. I will say I have seen this before.
Seen this a lot of times. You'd be surprised.
Be familiar. So some details of the petition, right? So it had the date of separation listed as TBD, despite reports of the couple had been separated for each other several months prior. Have you ever filed a petition with TBD?
No. Usually what I file is the parties still remain living together. However, separation is imminent.
Ooh, yeah. Love.
That makes so much sense.
Makes so much sense.
Sounds so much better than
Literally,
TBD.
Yes.
What is this then?
To be determined.
Yeah.
Indication that the legal grounds for the divorce were due to irreconcilable differences. Joint legal and physical custody was requested. Termination of court's ability to award support to the petitioner and respondent requested. And pursuant to the parties' premarital agreement, all assets and obligations of each party of his and her separate property.
That's fair for them. They both have a lot of money. There's no need for them to be like, and what about the car and the house and the businesses? Come on. There were rumors around September and October of 2021 that the couple may have reconciled, but those proved to be untrue, as news broke on October 21, 2021, that Kim bought Kanye out of his equity in their marital home, worth $60 million in total. Around the same time, Kanye purchased a $57 million home in Malibu and listed his ranch in Coyote, Wyoming for $11 million.
Yeah, see, they don't need nothing. You don't need no support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense as to why, as soon as they were pregnant, they didn't run and get married. Mm-hmm. They probably had to hammer out the details of their prenup.
Yep.
In late October of 2021, Kim guest hosted an episode of Saturday Night Live. She began a casual romantic relationship with Pete Davidson.
I remember this.
I love Pete Davidson.
Me too.
I get it.
You get it.
I understand why all these girls fall for him.
Our girl Ariana also was with him for a little bit.
I understand.
Get it.
Okay. They were caught on dates at various restaurants between the East and West Coast, going on rides at Knott's Berry Farm, and Kim even threw him a birthday party in November. On December 9, 2021, Kanye performed a concert at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Kim was in attendance with her mother, Kris, her sister, Kendall, her two eldest children, North and Saint, and some of her friends. While Kanye was performing his song Runway, he changed the words and ad-libbed, "I need you to run right back to me, baby," more specifically, Kimberly.
Okay. What? Didn't we see this in another divorce we did where they were in a concert and they tried doing this?
Yes. Robin Thicke.
Yes, Robin Thicke.
He wrote that whole album about Paula.
Yes.
Anyway, go back to that episode if you want to reference it.
Episode. So the bifurcation, right? So a day later, on December 10th, 2021, Kim filed a motion for bifurcated divorce, asking the judge to separate the outstanding issues of child custody and marital property to allow her to be declared legally single and have her maiden name restored. So fun fact, I'm going to bring Erin. That's right. Can you do this in Florida?
So you can bifurcate a divorce. You usually need very good cause, because they don't want you to free yourself of the marriage and then kind of abandon the idea of, child support, alimony, equitable distribution, etc., and not have a reason, right? So they want the bounds, and again, this is my interpretation of it. They really want the bounds of the marriage to keep you compelled to deal with all the other issues in our little peace acronym. If you're following along, you know what that means.
Yeah.
As to making sure that we resolve those issues.
Yeah. It makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me. I don't. So I've had a case where they tried to bifurcate, and of course, the person who wanted to bifurcate was the husband, who had to pay was very slated to pay alimony and provide a lot in equitable distribution and pay child support and things like that. So I was like, no, we're not letting you out. You could just agree to the bifurcation, which I think you could, but I wouldn't. Anyway, we got a really good settlement out of that because he really wanted to be divorced. He wanted to remarry his girlfriend. Well, get married to his girlfriend.
Okay.
Get
Well,
out.
2 months later, on February 16, 2022, Kanye responded to Kim's motion in opposition, citing California Family Code Section 2337, which governs bifurcation. Kanye's attorneys argued that granting bifurcation and declaring the couple legally single before settling issues such as custody and shared property would result in a risk of adverse consequences. Further, his attorneys alleged that an early termination of status also creates barriers to obtaining evidence if one of them remarries before the case is concluded. I did not even think about that. Really just said it like she could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did, however, set forth conditions in which he would be willing to agree to the bifurcation.
Don't put this in motion.
Don't ever. Kardashian would need to forfeit her marital privilege with West, and her new spouse, she should remarry before the divorce is finalized. She would be waiving her right to not have to testify or serve as a witness against her spouse, and conversations between Kim and her spouse would not be confidential. Oh.
First of all, it's also his privilege.
Yeah, I was gonna
He's not a party to this.
Yeah.
So you can't really do that.
You can't do that. That's literally what I was thinking.
Thank you for coming to my podcast.
Looking at Erin like, wait. West would maintain his right to reimbursement to be carried out if either party dies, and Kardashian would need to agree to move assets from their trust before the terms of the property are decided.
Stop it.
Okay, sir. Also, his attorney said if the status is terminated now without his conditions, then a barrier to obtaining evidence regarding parenting and custody will arise if Kim remarries before the case is concluded, and requested that Kim's motion be dismissed and refiled with the mandatory corrections and requested conditions.
Dismissed. You don't dismiss a motion.
Also, like, I feel like he's trying to say, like, well, I don't have to follow evidence code, so I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Oh, I also feel like he went, I should be able to control these circumstances too. Mm-hmm. This reeks of control.
Yep, 100%.
Points in authority. West's effort to impede Kardashian's request to end their marriage through the stratagem of demanding the court impose these onerous conditions not sanctioned by Family Code 2337 should be rejected. Since filing for divorce, Mr. West, by his actions, made it clear that he does not accept that the party's marital relationship is over. Mr. West has disseminated on social media the party's private communication and misinformation about personal family matters and co-parenting, which has caused emotional distress. Terminating the marital status should help Mr. West accept that the party's marital relationship is over. The parties entered into a prenuptial agreement that governs, inter alia, which means among others, the character of their assets, debts, income, and rights of reimbursement. Mr. West should not be permitted to rewrite the terms of the party's prenuptial agreement, which it did sound like that's what he was trying to do. Move money out of trust and do this and do that and waive any rights and whatever. In a statement published by West on February 27, 2022, he seemed to change his tune, continue stating, I've asked my team to expedite the dissolution of my marriage to Kim so I can put my entire attention on our beautiful children. You know, one of the things that I think is worth identifying is that he wanted to argue that something would be wrong with evidence. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
That to me doesn't relate accurately and adequately to anything.
Nope.
Because if you're concerned about maybe being able to pull in a new spouse for evidence about the children, that a new significant other, that would exist anyway, right? If they got married. So after the divorce, the children are still going to be around them. Like you didn't really eliminate that risk in a forever circumstance. And no such issue or circumstance was presently before the court. So you're making up what ifs.
Yeah.
You cannot add in these, but what if, because you can never fix and remedy every issue. Although I'm not typically a fan of bifurcation unless we think death is imminent, or some other very big competing issue. But there are circumstances where I think it possibly would go forward. Usually it's someone has cancer and there's concern they may pass away or something like that. In a statement published by West, back in January 2021, Kanye began to spar with Kim's new boyfriend, Pete Davidson. That month, Kanye released 2 songs in which he takes shots at Davidson. He released a music video for one of the songs, Easy, in March, in which he ties up and buries a claymation version of Pete. That's scary, right?
That is
That's
so
injunction
scary.
territory.
Yeah.
In February, he began a social media war with Davidson, which lasted into March. I thought Davidson did not have social media, or
I
did he
actually do
delete
not
it?
know that. So
Yeah. A hearing held on the bifurcation on March 1st, 2022, and the motion was granted. It kind of makes sense for celebrities
yeah,
and the extreme amount of wealth they have. I don't know.
I can see it.
I guess they get different rules. Throughout the chaos and drama surrounding their divorce, Kim maintained her position that she wants her children to have a relationship with West no matter what. Oh, hold on.
I
You
feel
know.
like Kim during all this kind of like remained calm, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
bet you behind closed doors she was like stressed, panicking. PR was all over this, like
Oh my God. I bet this was like the worst.
the worst.
Um,
Also, at the same time she's doing all this, she's still becoming like a multi-millionaire with 30 other businesses. She's
oh, I know.
creating and
Her
making.
wealth was astronomically increasing.
Yeah.
In a weird way, this was good for her
Yeah,
financial position.
yeah, it kind of was. She's lucky she didn't get put into like the Nazi stuff and all of the anti-Semitism.
It's
like,
weird because he oddly kept her protected with that.
He did, which I know like now, like, you know, how there's like cancel culture, like anything could have swarmed into that family, but they kept it out and really kind of kept separate.
He seems to be getting away with it.
He is getting
more
away
than
with
I
it.
think someone else would.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Kim has always maintained that she wants her children to have a strong relationship with Wes no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what they're going through, she said during an episode of her reality show, I always want my kids to be around their dad as much as possible and have their mornings with dad and get dropped off at school. They celebrated Father's Day together as a family, and Kim stated that everything was good with Kanye. The kids spent the day with Kanye, and then they had a big Father's Day dinner at the house.
That's really nice.
Yeah. Do you think that's because she lost her dad and it was hard on her?
Oh, I'm sure. If you watch the show, they talk about their dad all the time.
All the time.
And how that was very, very hard.
He was very bright. He was a very good lawyer.
Yeah. He was in the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't know that.
He actually became relicensed to help represent that. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
He just gave up his license. He wasn't practicing anymore. He was more doing the business side of things. And he became relicensed. Like he reinstated his license to help with the representation of his friend OJ. Wow.
No.
I didn't know that. I love that trial.
Yeah, it's very
I've watched so much of it.
Me too.
I love these like live trials. They're for me.
Yes.
They're for me. Yeah.
So terms of separation, this is the fun stuff, right? So finally on November 29, 2020, the terms of the couple's divorce was finalized. Kanye and Kim share joint legal and physical custody of their 4 children, though Kim is the primary caregiver.
That just makes sense.
Makes total sense. Kanye is required to pay $200,000 a month in child support. Woo! And half of the children's medical, educational, and security expenses. Oh, that would make sense.
That's unique, but
that is unique.
I love it.
Makes sense. Spousal support was waived from the beginning per the parties' prenuptial agreement. She don't need it.
Right.
Or he don't need it. Does not gender based. Any disputes regarding the children should be settled over mediation. And if one party fails to take part, the other party can make a decision by default.
Okay.
Okay. Kardashian received 4 homes in Hidden Hills, California, including the marital home, 1 home in Riverside, California, and 1 home in Malibu, California, and 3 homes in Idaho. Interesting. They did all good. I mean, I feel like that's probably the most we've seen out of a divorce in California that hasn't been like sealed or we don't know the terms of it. Right. But
all right. So we're going to take an over under. What do you think Kim Kardashian is worth?
Oh, me?
Mm-hmm.
Oof, worth?
Mm-hmm.
$300 million.
1.7 billion.
No way.
Who do you think is worth more, Kim or Kanye?
I'm gonna go with Kim just because of everything he's going through.
Okay.
He also has his music with the royalties and his tours, and I'm gonna stick with Kim. I'm gonna lock in my answer.
What do you think he's worth?
Him? I'm gonna go with he's probably worth a lot. 500 million?
Okay. 2.15 billion according to Forbes.
Get out.
Yeah, so he's worth more. That's why he pays her.
Oh, I should know that.
He has I mean, it just depends on it.
Well,
it may have been because
overnights?
Right. It may have been because in practicality, she has more overnights, right? And he might have just accepted that.
I'm so nosy. I want to know how do you guys do holidays?
I actually think it's probably in an agreement, and I think they probably never follow it.
Probably.
Like it's there as a default and they
Yeah.
never follow it.
Mhm.
And they always just do like what works with their schedules and this and that. And I think a lot of times he probably follows her to do something because I think she has to work harder for her money. I know that sounds awful. Than he does. I think he makes his money, but it's because he was a producer and all of that.
All royalties, you basically just get it.
Right. Because it's, but I think she has to work a little harder for her and she has to
So-
do a lot more filming and stuff like that.
Something that I have a question on is like, for example, so Northwest, she does like a lot of stuff now.
Yeah.
Okay. So these children are going to be making their own money just by being a Kardashian. And
Right.
West. Do you think that they have to joint? I mean, they definitely have joint legal and physical custody. I'm assuming that they have to both be together when maybe the kid signs a contract with something, or do you think maybe they kind of just like, how, for example, in our parents' plans, we'll have extracurriculars.
Right.
If you want to do one, and if you both agree to it, you both will split the cost. If one kind of wants to do it and the other one doesn't, then that parent will pay for the entire thing.
Right.
Do you think it's maybe something like that?
I do think so.
Okay.
I think both parents have to be involved unless, and this happens a lot of times in child celebrities. I just don't see Kanye being willing to do this because it is wrong and I don't agree with it, but they will allow a child to be emancipated. And the reason why is because once they're emancipated, they're no longer bound by hours on the set. They're no longer bound by having to have a teacher on the set at all times. And they're no longer bound by what they can and can't do for like work and things like that.
Sense.
And then third, fourth, fifth, whatever. The last thing is that there are laws that are protecting child stars in California, and I don't know them all, but it's that a certain portion of the money they earn has to go into some kind of a trust for them once they become an adult.
That's what I feel like is common sense, but it's sad that parents don't do that.
No, but now in Florida, it has to happen, right? So when they're paid, the like studio has to put a portion of this money in such an account.
Yeah.
So I think if they become emancipated, none of those rules matter.
Oof, that doesn't make sense. I would never.
Right?
I'll have the teacher.
I had heard on some documentaries that they allowed a minor child to become a ward of the studio.
Get out.
Sick shit.
So sick.
Yeah.
Wait, I kind of want to deep dive into that. I'm so intrigued.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, watch some documentaries on it. It's messy. I don't think that Kanye would ever let that happen. He may be bipolar, but he has like some very strong opinions. I don't think Kim would either.
They're very family oriented. The children are, their lives. They're great mothers.
I
love them all.
I actually think that they're really good business people. I actually really envy. I know a lot of people want to hate on them, but that's okay because when you're doing something big, you need haters.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
You need haters.
Also, I do think that what Kim is doing, like with the legal stuff, like I know people were hating on that. First off, taking the baby bar alone is not easy.
It's hard.
That is very hard, especially when she's doing all the stuff she's doing. And then on top of it, she works a lot with the Innocence Project.
Yeah.
So
I think stupid is a persona.
I agree. For sure.
I think it's a carefully curated persona because that's maybe more interesting, right? Being smart and witty in that way is almost like painful to watch for people. I think it's not interesting to watch. I think it looks like Kanye, right?
Yeah.
Being very bright and some type of a genius, I think is concerning in that way. And it doesn't portray well in media, right? On TV. So I think stupid is an act. And any bits of it, right, are carefully curated. And I think they're actually very brilliant business people. And genetically, they should be very smart because their father is smart, right? That's science says that, right? Yeah. You gain your IQ from your parents. And I don't think Kris Jenner is stupid.
I don't think so either. I think she's a very good businesswoman.
Yeah.
And I think it was, and this is my opinion,
she propelled all of those kids into moguls.
Yeah. Also, I do think whether they agreed to release the sex tape, if they did, I think it was a joint decision.
I do too. I think Ray J did not care.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think they were like, you know what? This is.
Did you know any of Ray J's songs?
No, I feel like if you played him,
I love his songs.
Really?
Yeah, I do. And I think he's super cute, right? And I loved Brandy.
Oh, I love Brandy.
Me too. So to me, I was like, this is a cute couple.
I think that she just knew her way to get in and she did, and it just worked for him.
I think she tried a couple of different things that we probably just don't know about.
For sure.
So who cares? Also, she consented on it. She never was like, I was raped. And,
Yeah.
you know, did she ever file a lawsuit about that?
No, because I know the first episode of Keeping Up with Kardashians, it's like it gets back out. So it's like this bigger deal, and that's how we find out about it. And they're like, oh, I thought everything was being taken down. But clearly, I'm sure that they did this to make the episode be big.
Right.
So like, oh, there's a sex tape. What? Scandal? These women, this family?
Well, because something similar happened with Paris.
Yes.
I think hers was on purpose too.
I'm sure.
I do. It's fine. She's fine. They ain't struggling.
Yeah, and when you think of Kim Kardashian now, your first thought isn't sex tape.
It's certainly not. No,
Certainly not.
nobody barely remembers that.
Yeah.
So good for her. Good for Kanye.
Yeah.
You know,
it is what it is.
It is. It is. Anyway, I can't believe he had so many attorneys. What the fuck and why?
Yeah.
So, well, at least they got it resolved. It seemed to take a while.
It seemed to take a while,
Almost
but it
2
seemed like
years.
it wasn't like they didn't have to go to trial.
I don't think that they were doing a knockdown drag out. I think he just was dragging his feet because he really didn't want to be divorced.
I don't think he wanted to be divorced. I'm sure he's still madly in love with Kim now. I mean, have you seen his new wife?
I hate what he does with his new wife.
Me too, and she is the spitting image of Kim Kardashian.
I can't stand it. I think it's sick. I think we are watching the display of major abuse.
I was just about to say abuse.
I hate how he walks her around naked.
Oh God,
it makes me feel sick to my stomach.
He basically like tells her to get naked in front of all those paparazzi. That's just sick.
I hate it.
And she's like a robot and just does whatever he says.
I hate it.
I hate it too.
I don't know how to understand it. I don't know if we are watching someone who's, I don't know. I just hate it.
She's like brainwashed, like his little puppet.
It's like,
it's really scary.
It reeks of abuse to me.
Waiting for a documentary.
Coercive control.
Yes. You can tell coercive control, let alone in just the way he's being.
I think he just couldn't control Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't possible.
Her and her family were too big, and they're like, nope, you're not.
What I think there was that might have gone on, if I had to guess, was that so I read an article once that there's like a new trend in coercive control types of relationship. And again, it's not every man. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's just this particular subset. It's very small, where these controlling and very powerful men want to take a very powerful, very intelligent, very educated, very capable woman and then take her down and place her on the shelf.
Oof.
Right? Like she doesn't belong there. And that potentially, I don't know, Kanye wanted to do this with Kim, right? You're so powerful, I can take you down. I can take you, right?
You think you have to do with jealousy?
Yeah, I think a lot of times men have a very difficult time accepting the extreme success of their wife.
Yeah.
Because I would say that she's probably more famous.
Yeah, I agree.
Although not richer. And I also think that him paying her $200,000 a month in child support based on her request of that is a way where he's like, see, I am better than you. Yep. You need me. You need me to pay you support. And she's like, fine, pay me. You know, it's kind of crazy, right?
That is so crazy. It's very scary. He remarried pretty quickly, I think, too.
Is he married?
Yeah, he's married. They're married.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, he married her like super quick.
I feel bad for her.
I do too.
Nothing seems right about that.
Nothing seems right about it. It's actually like cringy, scary. Seem like you said, it's just abuse right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, like blink twice if you need help.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's our coverage on Kim and Kanye West. Thanks for joining us. Yes. As you know, if you have any questions, call for your consultation. If you have a divorce, you know where to go. Erin Morse for your divorce.